Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode by Hivebrid. Today, I have with me Lisa Eaton from Fabric. She's the CEO and founder of Fabric Academy. Lisa, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Really excited to be here.
It's great having you because I'm always fascinated by people who have extensive experience on their field and then decide to move towards becoming educators and also enabling the industry. So could you please share a couple of details about your background and how you ended up into founding
Yes, of course. So I have had quite a squiggly career path, I guess, as many probably can relate to. Started out in marketing many moons ago, some almost 25 years now. Found my way into agency and spent almost 2 decades of my career in agency. First decade, I was working for various different agencies in the Northeast region where I'm from in England. The second decade, I set my own agency up, which was a strategic marketing agency. So we focused on working with customers who were looking to grow their brand, essentially grow their market share and get products or services in front of their ideal customers. And we would essentially build strategies to enable them to grow and then deliver them through our agency services. And I did that
That's exactly what we do.
Exactly that. So, and I loved agency life, almost 20 years in agency. It's such an exciting place to be. But one of the challenges we had, particularly because we were niche focused on building strategies, was access to talent. And we found it really difficult to recruit strategic marketers. So those who could take a business plan, pick it apart and build a strategy to enable growth in a business. And I thought this was a bit of a regional issue, a skills gap within the Northeast region. So started doing a bit of a research project into what education was currently teaching our marketers and what industry leading bodies were teaching our marketers, and was quite surprised to see that education hadn't really moved on as it should have in the sort of 20 years that I'd been practicing marketing and out of education, and therefore felt there was a real gap between what education was currently teaching and what industry really required from marketers for them to be successful in role. Hence, I ended up building an academy to bridge that gap and give marketers the support I felt they really needed to be really, successful and powerful in the roles that they were in.
Okay, very interesting. So what were the gaps you discovered in the field that ended towards building an academy to fill those gaps?
Yeah, so strategy was a really huge part of it, right? So nowhere was teaching strategic marketing. Marketing still felt, from an education point of view, very much about tactical delivery. So creating things, sending things out, and it was very
slogans and media plans.
Yeah, of course, still very detached from business objectives.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the shift in marketing over, I guess, the 2 decades that I was in it, the first decade was very much about creating stuff, websites or campaigns or brochures or messages. And, the more of those things that you had, the more successful you were seen to be. And the shift really happened in that second decade of marketing where actually, you were given a marketing budget and marketers were expected to therefore show a return to the business on that marketing spend and also move the objectives or the dial on some of those really high level, business goals. So, customer reach, customer acquisition, cost of customer acquisition, retention, expansion, marketing became a function that was enabling growth and less so about pretty pictures. It's a shift that happened over a long period of time, but a shift that most definitely education, I don't think, kept up with. And so what we saw in our research project was that education was still teaching theory based around tactical delivery. It certainly wasn't taking into account the changes in trends or technologies or new techniques that were being utilized in marketing roles in order to be successful. And I felt like marketeers were coming out of a university degree or a degree with an industry leading body, and they weren't at all set up for success in terms of what a real marketing role looked like or what it required them to be. So that was an interesting learning piece there.
Yeah, I think nowadays people end up in marketing being very tactical without having a business acumen and understanding how marketing can be an enabler towards shifting the needle, moving the needle and shifting growth forward. So it's very important to understand that marketing is not just advertising or just slogans and media plans, because that's just 8% of the whole equation. So how does Fabric today transforms the industry, and who is your target market? I mean, are you targeting internal teams, agencies? What's the ideal scope for you?
Yeah, so I guess when I initially built Fabric, it was to address that disjoint between education and industry. But of course, I've been an agency owner, an agency founder. I'd also worked in-house many moons ago, and I was working continuously day in and day out with large in-house teams. So I felt I had a really good perspective of the industry as a whole and what businesses needed and what marketers needed. So when we created Fabric, we created it to be very different to anything else that was out there on the market, but particularly around what businesses needed to see. And so we built Fabric, which is made up of 3 pillars, if you like. There's the foundational education there, which is important to teach marketers at all levels. So this is an interactive 12-week course where we teach them the framework of building a marketing strategy from scratch. And teams do that live with us. They're building a live strategy for their role in their organization, and we're coaching them and we're assessing them to make sure they understand how to apply that theory into their actual day job. So that's one aspect of it. But the really interesting aspect is the coaching that we offer. So it's all good and well teaching marketers theory, hands-on practical training. But, we all know that once we get to put that into practice in our current role, there's nuances, there's challenges, there's curveballs, there's, changing and moving goalposts all the time. So what we knew our marketers needed was guidance and support and advice from those who had been there, who had done it, who empathize with their position, who have overcome some of those challenges, but have been very successful in their careers. And so one of the most powerful things that we've seen in terms of transitioning marketers into really high-performing teams is matching them with a coach. A coach who's a specialist in their skill set, and a coach who has had huge success in the industry or a similar type of challenge. And the teams being able to spend time together with that person to discuss those nuances and those challenges and the obstacles that they're facing towards becoming really successful has been really incredibly powerful. So the foundation education, supported by individual coaching and group coaching, peer-to-peer networking coaching, as well as the power of community and on-demand education, which we also offer, it has been a really powerful mix to be able to take marketers to the next level. And that's essentially what we're doing. So working with huge global brands, agencies are very much still a part of our client base. We work a lot with agencies and their teams. We tend to work with businesses who are marketing centric. So fashion and beauty, food and drink, FMCG, those who have really large marketing teams and complex in their makeup, but our marketing is at the core of their business. They understand the value and the power of marketing, and they want to have the best performing teams available.
Really interesting. And how about the name? How did you come up with the name Fabric?
Yeah, so the name it's a really interesting one. I think we were thinking about kind of all of the threads that lead to being the most powerful marketer properly. So like from education to content to community to coaching. And it was all these different threads that almost kind of wind together to build the fabric of a really good marketer.
Yeah, I really find Fabric.
Absolutely a perfectly defined fabric. So
Nice, very nice. And do you see any trends towards marketing roles today? Do companies choose to employ outsourced support or fractional roles or even freelancers?
Yeah, I think more so than ever, companies are really embracing fractional roles for a number of different reasons. I think it's rare for a large company to rely solely on freelance and fractional. And they tend to be the teams that we work with, much bigger in-house teams. I think the smaller organizations and the medium organizations have real flexibility with fractional and freelance. It allows them to bring in really specialist niche skills that they otherwise might not be able to afford on a full-time basis. And of course, you don't always need those skills when you're certainly in startup or scale-up mode. The requirements of your marketing team change quite rapidly, as does the business. So being able to have the flexibility about when you bring those skills in and when you dial them up and when you dial them down is got its real benefits. Where we see a lot of fractional support is in the larger teams where they need need a really specialist external eye. And often this is exactly often why they bring Fabric in the same sense that often a team can get quite insular. A large marketing team can be quite insular in their learning and development, in their exposure to the outside world, in seeing the trends that are happening out in the marketing industry as a whole. Bringing in a fractional person or a partner like learning and development partner like we are can give that external perspective and isn't so close to the day job or isn't in the weeds like often the actual team are. So they can really give that perspective from an outside point of view, which can be very powerful. So we're increasingly seeing this kind of blended team of in-house teams with fractional talent, supporting that to be able to dial into niche areas or to be able to really kind of home in on something that they need to work on.
And does Fabric have any role within this new recipe? Do you support the enablement or the integration of these people, or do you have any other ways of supporting?
No, we don't. We don't tend to work with fractional marketeers. We're not responsible for, I guess, putting those two relationships together.
Yeah.
Where our support comes in is accessing the talent from our coaching pool. So we've got upwards of 50 coaching partners around the world. We've got VPs of marketing from Coca-Cola and creative director from Vodafone and top marketing man in Uber and marketing director from Monzo. So our coaches are incredibly talented and allowing our customers to be able to tap into that talent and for their team to be able to work directly with them, depending on the need of the team or the person within the team at that time, is incredibly talented. That's very powerful. So I guess that's where our connection comes in the power of coaching. Fractional talent isn't something that we have any involvement in, but I'm a huge advocate of bringing in the right fractional talent at the right time to support the team as well.
Yeah, because sometimes you need to run faster and efficiently without the drama of finding the right talent and having the right match. So a fractional marketeer can go from A to B and then the job is done.
Yeah.
So it's really important. But speaking from personal experience, going now towards mostly on the challenges side of things, my whole background was from agencies, okay? I started working for McCann, then from McCann I went to VMLY&R, and afterwards I founded Hybrid. And when I founded Hybrid, I was thinking that I was applying a different side of marketing by being more business-centric. But then I joined Delivery Hero, who they're a huge group with delivery companies around the world. And when I presented my first pitch, I then realized that it was all advertising oriented and very, very inspirational, very nice keynote slides, but no business acumen. So this is when things started changing for me. And I'm wondering whether this challenge is starting to ease out or if it's getting worse, because now we have AI, we have a lot of tools, everything is becoming super tactical. And I'm wondering whether university students and junior marketeers have a change of hearts towards what marketing really is, or if we're still facing the same challenges.
Yeah, and it's such an interesting debate, and I talk about this a lot. I think there is a real misconception of what marketing is now, and I think that's always been there. Quite frankly, it's just perception is now very different to what it was 20 years ago. Businesses still often see marketing as a cost center, and one of the first things that get cut if times get hard. And I feel the complete opposite to that. Marketing, when it's done right, is a growth enabler. And in fact, when things get tough, double down on marketing, and that's when you'll see growth. And, there's some phenomenal stats around those businesses that really double down on marketing during the recession, during COVID, and, tough economic challenges that actually came out with, a larger share of voice or bigger share of the market, more trust and authenticity than ever before in the customers they were trying to reach. So, for me, I think there is a worry that the younger generation coming through with an exciting career in marketing, it sounds like it's all social media or it's YouTube videos or it's, this sudden run through personal branding. And, of course, all those things are important, right? They're not going anywhere by any means.
Yeah.
But fundamentals of marketing are about moving the dial on business objectives. And the tactics that you choose to do that have to be dependent on the product or the industry or the customer you're trying to reach. But the fundamental is should never have changed. And that is that marketing is there as an enabler to growth, and it needs to provide a return on the spend, the resource, the time that goes into the efforts and into the tactical delivery. But there has to be a return into the business on that. They've got to see, higher reach, more lead generation, more customers coming through into the pipeline, a bigger share of basket or product, or, it has to have a business impact. And I think there's there's a real disjoint between marketers understanding that, or just thinking they can come in and write content and be on social and, do some of those things.
Even being able to practice marketing without an advertising budget is so important, which is a fundamental statement we make with every new customer. We tell them, even if you don't have a marketing budget, an advertising budget, you can still practice marketing. You might need to change your prices or double your prices or just tweak something on your customer journey and increase your profitability, which is so important. And it's a way for people to understand that marketing is not just a good message and spending money on ads. And I believe this challenge is what is bringing more problems towards marketers being able to represent the department in the boardroom.
Yes.
Because marketeers, they're like an enabler within the company. They are the eyes and the ears of the customer, of the market. They need to be there. They need to be there and not just get a brief from the other departments.
Yeah. And it's really interesting you say that. I often think the very best marketers in the world are the marketers who can make an impact with no budget. So it's really easy, right? If you've got a basic understanding of marketing, it's really easy to spend £1 million marketing budget. It's, the money is there. You can do what you want. You're not facing any major challenge. You can trial, you can test, you can experiment, you can try a bit of everything. You can bring a ton of people in to help support you.
And something will work.
Something will get you there eventually, but it doesn't mean you're brilliant at spending that budget and bringing a return. The marketers who have no budget, but yet can still make incredible impact in the business, are the most creative thinkers, the most resourceful, the biggest problem solvers. And I often say that, give this challenge to a lot of our students, if your marketing budget was cut to a tiny fraction of what you've got, but you had to deliver the same impact, you get super creative. You really
of course,
hard about how you spend every penny and what return it's going to bring the business. And, I think that's a struggle that, lots of marketers think that you can't make an impact. I mean, at Fabric, when we were in the early stages of building Fabric, the first 18 months, we bootstrapped the business while we were initially growing the product. We did every single bit of our lead gen on a zero marketing budget.
Yeah.
We had no paid media. We had no paid advertising budget. We were generating about 40 leads a week, and that was from organic socials and really clever strategic thinking.
Wow.
And, of course, to get the really big results, you do, of course, need budget. You do need marketing spend, but you shouldn't take for granted that you've got this massive budget and you can just scattergun approach and hope for the best. Every penny should be strategically thought through.
Yeah. So speaking of challenges to Fabric candidates, what differentiates Fabric Academy from other coaching programs in the industry?
Well, there isn't any specific coaching programs out there for marketers. And particularly not coaching programs built by marketers for marketers. So for me, I guess there's other education programs out there, of course, and some do an incredible job and some not so great. It depends what the business is looking for. If you're simply looking to tick a box that you're supporting your team by giving them access to training, that's not. We're not looking for a business to be ticking a box. We want engaged learners. We want really ambitious marketeers. We want marketers who want to be the best at what they do and have that real thirst to be able to continue to learn. And that's what sets us apart, where we can really work with a marketer to give them the foundational skills of what strategic and commercial thinking looks like, and then give them access to the world's best marketers to learn from. So, we're very different to anything else that is out there on the market. And I guess that's probably what sets us apart from lots of, traditional training, because we all, the world is changing so quickly. And, we know this in marketing, right? We blink and there's another platform or a new algorithm or a new trend that we've got to jump on. And it's training and development is no different. The way we used to learn as consumers of information has changed rapidly over the last 10 years, particularly now with AI and video content and short form. And so none of us really have the patience or the bandwidth to sit and learn like we used to in an old traditional style. And so a platform like Fabric gives learners the ability to be able to learn in a way that suits them, very customized learning way. And for us, it's about getting impact. We need to be able to show the business that we are providing a return on their investment in their training and development of their team by their team coming out being more confident in their role or able to make better decisions or more technically skilled in an area that they need to be skilled in. So yeah, we're a very different beast, I guess, to the traditional learning platforms out there, but with much greater impact to the businesses that we work.
Yeah. And it's so important for marketing teams to be continuous learners. For me, the best marketeers are the ones who claim to be lifelong learners and students forever. If you're open to learn from everyone, even from someone who you think that they don't have the same skill set as you or they're very different, then you have a competitive edge because our industry is changing so fast. Everything is happening so fast. We have no time to make exemptions towards what will be good or bad knowledge for us. And at the same time, we have this opportunity to connect so many different industries and thoughts. I mean, we could be learning marketing through poetry or music. It's so beautiful.
Absolutely.
Because partly we have a very damaged brain as marketeers. We need to be analytical and creative at the same time. So you have to find a way to treat this.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's really interesting. I've been hiring marketers for almost 20 years, and whether that's for my own agency or my own business, or whether I'm doing it on behalf of a customer I'm working with. And the fundamental skill that I look for in marketing talent is an obsessive learner. And everything else for me can be taught. Obviously the values of that person have to be aligned with the values of the business, and the soft skills and the hard skills have to marry with what the job role is. But if a marketeer isn't an obsessive learner, they will hit a ceiling really quickly and they will fall. They'll just not be able to keep up with what the industry's doing. So that is for me one of the best skills a marketer can have, no matter how long you've been practicing marketing or how brilliant you think you are at a specific area. You've got to be keeping your eye on the ball. You've got to be learning day in, day out, and you've got to want to do that because it's a big part of the role.
And coming to closing, I would like to ask you, Lisa, how do you see the future of marketing in the following, I would say years, but now with AI, I would say months?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting, isn't it? Particularly as a marketeer who's kind of crossed 3 decades almost now, and seeing the transition in marketing has been really fascinating, particularly over the last handful of years. There is no doubt AI will continue to shape the future of marketing. There's no doubt. And it's playing a bigger role than I think anybody ever expected it to in marketing. But those who balance both automation and creativity for me will be the people who are the front runners. I'm seeing lots of people relying on AI to do their marketing, and you can spot that a mile off. I'm seeing lots of people who are copying styles through AI, and you can see that a mile off. And I genuinely think, and this is not necessarily a trend, but something that I think is so important, is that the brands who have trust and authenticity will be the brands that are the front runners. So as all of us are consumers in some sense, we will levitate towards those brands that we trust, that we believe are authentic, that are doing the right thing and their own thing and keeping really true to their own values. And they are the people that we will buy from as consumers. And the people who take that for granted and try and cut corners through AI will be the brands that I believe will lose out. And I think personalization became really interesting for a period. I think we're hitting a period of over personalization. You need to be careful with that. So automation and AI to a degree, but not forgetting the human impact and the empathy and the real connection, the deep connection with the consumer is so important, and things that can't do. And I think that probably the last big trend, which I don't think there's any signs of this showing down at all, is influencer marketing and the power of influencer marketing. It's always been there for the big brands that suited influencer marketing, and it's been proven in that field. I'm starting to see some really interesting strategies around influencer marketing with brands that you would just never expect to move into that
and
field.
Also UGC, I think.
Yeah, just really, really interesting piece. So I think that, that piece for me will continue to grow, and using the power of influencers, I think has got, is definitely brands that didn't think that fitted their strategy, I think should be re-strategizing around that and thinking how they could make it work.
Yeah. Well, everything is becoming so automated. Everything is becoming so smart. And maybe the only thing that's left for us in terms of marketing expression, speaking of the expression side of things, is to have a great message. In order to have it, you need to be clearly positioned and distinctively differentiated. And then if you don't have millions of euros to spend and then sit and wait what's going to work, you need to start acting smart. So you need to be educated, very well educated. I remember a talk I was having last week with a VC guy. He is from the US, and he told me your industry is seriously in deep trouble in the next months, because all executional part, almost 95% of execution is going to be gone, and it's going to be done by AI agents. And I was thinking, maybe not. Maybe, yeah, everything's going to be automated. But at the end of the day, no one can replicate the mind of a marketeer that can sense inside and outside of the organization what needs to change to drive growth forward.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I have no fear of AI in marketing whatsoever. I think it's going to be an incredible enabler. I think it's going to take over a lot of the jobs that, don't need that real kind of human insight. But I don't think there's any worry that marketing will be replaced by robots completely.
Yeah.
Brands that embrace it and bring in automation, but really focus on creativity and human insights and how those three things work together will most definitely be the brands that you see kind of flourish. But we're all getting very clever at spotting AI, and as good as AI is getting, it's easy to see where AI has been used and no human insight has been used to tweak it. And where it's, where it's really winning is when it's being used to speed up processes and cut out some of the mundane tasks. And data and insight and research. But where it's really powerful is where somebody's doing the creative thinking and bringing that human insight and the feeling and the thoughts and the behaviors to it to be able to really connect with the customer. Mm-hmm. So I think it's really exciting. And I think if you're not willing to embrace it, you probably will. It will replace your role. You're just going to embrace it and use it well.
And do you currently use any AI in your coaching approach or in your trainings?
Yes.
It's something that you do?
We use AI quite a lot at the moment, particularly to plot out learning pathways for people. So all of our learners come through and they do a skills assessment and they do a learning pathway. And we really scrutinize kind of the areas that they need to develop most in and the skills and the techniques that will help them get that the quickest. We use AI to review coaching and the impact coaching's had on them, and then to delve deeper into some of the areas and then to recommend future learning pathways. We're exploring ways of how digital coaching can surround human coaching and implement that almost 24-hour support, always on for some of the easier questions. And we're not quite there with that yet, and it's not in place yet. But for me, there's nothing will ever replace the power of human connection and a conversation between two humans, and the experience, the lived experience that person has, and the way they're able to share that experience and guide and support and advise coachees. That's not to say that there couldn't be some incredible wraparound support that could enhance that through AI.
Yeah.
Lots of exciting things to explore for us in the future.
Yeah, exciting times coming ahead.
Indeed.
Lisa, thank you so much for your time. It was really insightful and a powerful conversation. How can someone learn more about Fabric? And you do have participants from around the world, right?
We do. Yeah, we're working with global organizations. We have students in all corners of the world. So they can find out more about us by visiting the website, which is fabric-academy.com, or they can reach out to me directly on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn, and it's just Lisa Eaton, and you will find me, no doubt. And yeah, I mean, for any marketeers out there who are interested to learn, we've got a ton of free resources on the website that you can download, so guides and tools and webinars and all sorts. For any organizations that are looking to upskill and support and develop their marketing teams, likewise, there's a plethora of information on there, but I'm always very happy to connect and have conversations with people.
Great. Thank you so much, Lisa, for your time, and wishing you all the best.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a real pleasure.